guest speaker, as I mentioned before, Mendhi Audlin, who just happened to dress in the same color scheme as me. You'll get to see us together up here on stage. Come join me.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, I thought someone else was introducing you, so.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be. It gave me time to gather all my stuff.
That's right, and look, it's like we planned it.
I know, it's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you
so
so
glad
much.
you're here.
It's great to be here. It's so good to be here with all of you. Yeah, I was watching your live stream from last week. So by the way, hello to everyone on the live stream. Hello to all of you. I noticed last week you had Kelly here. She was doing everything off her notes on her phone. I still use paper. Is that okay to still use paper? Yeah, and I even I draw little pictures to help me remember. So I don't even print it out. So I am like way old school. And now I have to bring my reading glasses. So it's like a whole nother era for me. The last time I was here with you, May 1st, 2016, I was your guest speaker, and it was a very special Sunday because that was the Sunday, it was the very first Sunday for this new young minister that you had just brought in, James Buchanan. Yes, we love you, James. We love you, James. He had just moved here. He was unpacking all of his stuff. It was the first day of the month, first day of the new job. He was here, but he wasn't quite ready to do a Sunday talk. So I got to come in, and together, I remember that Sunday so clearly. I remember him wandering into the back of the room about halfway through. And I remember together, those of us that were here, I remember saying this. I remember saying, there will be a day, the time will come on up, give me something to put all my stuff down.
Wish is my command.
Oh, I have like my magic genie. Thank you, Spirit. Oh, and isn't that cool? Thank you so much. So I remember having this moment where I said, there will be a day where those of us who are in the room, some of you may remember, not if you were in the room, will come together and we will say, I was there. I was there on that day when James Buchanan was the new minister. And so here we are 7 years later. I offered a blessing to him, a blessing to the ministry, to his leadership, and to this church. And it's been 7 years, so you're welcome. I tell you, it really worked. It really worked. I think he brought me back for the next 7 years. So the question is, what should we bless this time, right? Where do we go from here? What is next for us? So my name is Mendhi Audlin. I am this is what brought me to town. I live in New York. I'm from Arlington originally, but I live in northern New York right now. I came to town. I have a book called What If It All Goes Right, a nonprofit called the What If Up Club. And our mission is to spread hope, build connection, and inspire positive change. And that's what brought me to Dallas this week. I was speaking at a youth leadership conference, 189 young leaders, all from the Dallas area, coming together. Isn't that cool? Look at them. Isn't that exciting? They bring me in every year to talk about community building. And so I told James, I said, I'm going to be in town. And he said, oh, can you talk to Unity of Dallas? Can you talk to us? I have a program that I launched called Spirit Groups, and it is about creating community and belonging in New Thought communities. And I'm very excited that planting seeds for it to come to Unity of Dallas this fall. So this is the beginning. Yes, exciting. This is just the beginning of good things to come. So I'm very excited to be here. Now, when I came to camp, this was on Thursday. I came in a day early just to kind of scope things out. And I was having breakfast with one of my colleagues. And as I was having breakfast, this young teenage girl comes up to me. And the way they do this, they always have the teens who introduce the speaker. So they interview you ahead of time, and then they introduce you when it's your time to speak. So I'm having breakfast with my friend, and this young girl comes up. Like, huge smile, lights up the room, this enormous smile, and she comes up, and she's like, I'm so sorry to bother you. Huge smile. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm here to interview you. And first thing I said is, you're not bothering me, right? You're not bothering me. And then she just was so lit up. She's like, I'm so excited you're here. I love Community Day. I love community service. I read your bio. She was just on fire, so happy, so excited. When can we meet? When can we meet? So I said, well, I'm going to be here tomorrow. I'll be here for breakfast. Let's connect then. So I come back tomorrow, next day, breakfast, sitting with a friend. Here she comes again, all smug. I'm sorry to bother you. She's like, I'm going to bother you again tomorrow. I'm like, no, you're not. You can't bother me. You can't bother me. Here I am to bother you again. I'm like, you're not bothering me. So we go, we interview, she interviews me, I interview her. Here's what I found out. I'm going to call her Kimmy. That's not her name. I'm going to call her Kimmy. So here's what I found out about Kimmy, 17 years old. She has a single mom who has a substance abuse issue. And during COVID, they were homeless. And it was hard. And during that time, she questioned how it would be possible to have a God that would allow so much suffering. And then she went into foster care, and her mother is active, her foster mother is active in a faith-based community. Said, if you want to come with me. And she started showing up at this church, and she found belonging, and she found purpose, and she found that the pain and suffering that she had been through could help other people, that she was empathetic, that she was compassionate, and her passion for community service was born out of that aching and longing. And she started to see, my book is called What If It All Goes Right? I said, you're that. You are what if it all goes right? What if everything that we experience can be used for a positive purpose, can be used in a way that brings us joy and fulfillment and belonging? So that was the shift. And when James asked me to come here, I went to this camp to teach how do you not only experience that, but how do you create that? Right, so some of you maybe have experienced that. You've been here a long time and you have that sense of belonging. How do you create that? How do you make sure that the Kimmies out there in the world have a safe place to land? How do you make sure you're creating a culture where people feel welcome like that? So I have this came out a month ago. This is in the news. It was sort of a big time thing in the news. This is from the U.S. Surgeon General. When was it? May 3rd, 2023. New Surgeon General advisory raises the alarm about the devastating impact of the epidemic of loneliness and isolation in the United States, from the Surgeon General. And a desperate plea for people, for individuals, for faith-based communities, for us to do something about it. So here's the statistics. 1 in 5 adults suffers from loneliness, isolation. More than one in 3 teenagers experiencing loneliness and isolation. I had a mentor once, and I asked him, when I first was starting as a speaker, isn't that cute? As I was first starting as a speaker, I asked him, what's the secret to a happy life? And he said, do the thing you love in a way that eliminates the thing you hate. Which is not a very Unity answer, right? We wouldn't typically say focus on that, but this was before I knew Unity, and it was a very thought-provoking tidbit of advice for me. And I thought about, what do I love to do? Like, I love to do this. I love this. I love community building and speaking and teaching and writing. Like, I love this. And if there were one thing in the world that I could eliminate, that my life could help eliminate from the planet, it would be loneliness. I've been lonely. I'm one of those 1 in 5. I've gone through it. When I was a kid, I was such a weird, awkward kid. I had the braces and the big teeth and the glasses and the headgear and, was skinny and not cool. I had a speech impediment. I was so not cool. And it can be really tough, And even now, like, great family, wonderful resources, great connections. Even now, I still feel it. I go through waves of that. What if we could eliminate that from the planet? So there's been a lot of research done on this. Connection, sense of belonging, fundamental to our survival, fundamental to our spiritual growth. Yes, would you agree? Yes, okay. So here's what the studies show. Study done at Yale said that loneliness and isolation is, people who are experiencing that are 2 to 3 times more likely to die of heart disease. than people who have social connection. Another study, this one was done at Brigham Young. They found that isolation had the same equivalence to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It was the equivalent of being an alcoholic in terms of your health. It was twice as bad as obesity for your health, being isolated. We're not meant for that. You know, we are tribal, we are social, we're meant to be together. There was another study at the University of Exeter, this is in the UK, and they said that their studies found that the more groups you belong to, people who belong to a group, like a faith-based community, like a small group, like a civic group, like a youth group, people who belong to groups, they say it is the greatest predictor of your health and longevity. More so than having a good diet, more so than having a good, strong exercise regime. Better than diet, better than exercise. Hang out together. Hang out together. And the more meaningful those relationships are when you're together, the more the impact is. So that's what the studies find. We kind of are like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I can feel that. So that's the challenge. So here's the challenge. There's why is this so hard? Why is it that even though we all know this, and we all like, yeah, that's important, and yet 1 out of 3 teens are experiencing loneliness, 1 out of 5 adults. Why is it so hard to implement? So it goes back to this, I think of this study. There was a study done in the 1960s, 1970s, and I am gonna preface this by saying, thank goodness they don't do studies like this anymore, because it was kind of like, they did what? They did what? But it was by a psychiatrist named Martin Seligman, who has become the father of modern positive psychology. But back in the day, he was studying depression, and he did this study with dogs. And the way they did this study was they wanted to look at the significance of just feeling like you're in control. So they had a group of dogs, and they put them in this little contraption. Here's what it looked like. Actually, it looked like this. There it is. They put them in this little contraption, and on one side, the floor would give little shocks. On the other side, no. And they put a little partition in there. So for the first group of dogs, they put them in there. When the floor would start to shock, they just hop over, and they were fine. Very good. You can see where this is going, can't you? It's not good. So they did this with the second group, and with the second group of dogs, they raised the barrier. So you're going to get shocked, but there's nothing you can do about it. And it's random, and you don't know what's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so for a while, they kind of try to figure it out, but you can't figure it out. There's no way out. And so these poor little dogs would just whimper in the corner. Nothing you could do. And then they'd do the test again, only this time they would lower the barrier. But this time, when the shock started, the little dogs would whimper in the corner. Even though there was a way out, they had learned that it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter. You're not in control of this. They had learned that. And I think about this group of young people, and I think about what we've all experienced going through 2 years where you want to go out with your friends, but you can't. You want to go out to eat, but you can't. You have no control over this. You want to give a hug, but you can't. We went through 2 years of trauma being separate from each other. 2 years of all the things that we wanted to do to reach out and connect, we couldn't do. And what does that do to us? So to me, it's not really a surprise that we're feeling anxious and depressed and that we're yearning to come back together, but we don't know how. And what they found was, they call this learned helplessness. You learn, if you're in a situation where you don't have control, you learn there's nothing you can do, and so you stop trying. Like it happens with trauma people, it happens in the human condition as well as with these dogs. But what they also found was because it was a learned condition, it could be unlearned. And so what they did with these little dogs, when they would be whimpering in the corner, is they would literally pick them up and put them in a safe place. There is a safe place. And sometimes it would take several times. They wouldn't like immediately get it. Like, oh, I can get out of this? Oh, I can do something about this? I have some skills, I have some knowledge, I know how to get to a place where it isn't so painful. It took a while, but it could be relearned. And so that's my passion and my mission. How do we equip each other for the skills, the tools, to be able to navigate those shocks, navigate the tough spots in life. And when we see other people who are suffering, how do we help them get to that safe place? How do we show them there is a way? There is a way through this. There is a way to step into your joy, to find peace. That's what unity is all about, right? There is a way. There is always a way. So that's the challenge. One of the things that I heard from one of my mentors, they said in small group ministry, transformation doesn't happen in rows, it happens in circles. So we can feed our brains together, we can deepen our understanding together, talk about the 12 powers, but to truly create transformation, we need each other. We need to talk with each other. We need to process things together. We need to be witness to the growth and the joy and the expansion of each other. So I have a model. Here it is. This is what the Attorney General says needs to happen. We need to strengthen social infrastructure. We need to find ways to get people together. And the other one that I'm passionate about is this last one, cultivating a culture of connection. Not just being in the same room together, but actually having meaningful conversations with each other. So how do you do this? I call this the 5 disciplines of love. And when you do small groups, this is going to be part of the foundation. You're going to hear a lot about this. So this is just a tiny little introduction to the 5 disciplines of love that you'll be hearing about a lot as you start doing your small group work. So here's where it begins. The very first one, we call this communion, because communion means with unity, with oneness. So the first step of this is your internal process, right? So it's your prayer practice. And thank you, Billy, for holding that space. So Billy brought that together for us with prayer and meditation. That's a part of every small group experience we have. It is knowing that kingdom of God that is within you, and it is a huge part of what we do in the Unity Movement. So we're good at this one, right? So say communion, check. You got that? Check. Yeah, we got this one. Okay, easy, easy. The second one is connection. Connection is really fun. So I think about what it must have been like. Think of Jesus. He had his 12 disciples. He had his small group. He had his group of guys, and they travel around. And I think, wouldn't that have been fun? Don't you think that would have been really fun? Hey guys, road trip. Where are we going next? Let's travel together and let's have a fish cookout by the sea. And I bet they really had some fun together. So there's a certain part of connection that's just enjoying each other's company. When I was here with you for Easter and we got to enjoy a meal together afterwards, that's just fun. It feels really good, and we need that. We need that playfulness. We need that time together. So I think of communion and connection as the inhale. It's like breathing in spirit. So take a deep breath in just to feel how good an inhale feels. Nice big inhale. And then, of course, once you inhale, what do you want to naturally do? Exhale. So what's the exhale? So this is the inner journey, and then we're full so that we can then reach out with compassion. So think about in the book of Matthew, they're out there, they're doing their preaching thing, and they're on the road, and Jesus says to his disciples, he's like, you guys go ahead, sail off to that distant shore. I'm going to do my communion practice. I'm going to go up and spend some time praying on the mountainside, on the mountaintop. I'll catch up with you. I'll catch up with you. So that's communion. So Jesus is saying, I need my time for quiet reflection, and then I'll catch up with you. And so he has his mountaintop experience, and then he goes and catches up with his disciples. I kind of picture him being like, can you imagine, I'm just going to catch up with them, right? So he's walking on the water. They're out on the boat. He's walking on the water. Can you imagine them? I mean, now, if it was today, they'd be like, do you see this? Do you see this? I got to post this on Instagram. This is pretty cool. So I just imagine them being like, what is that? And it says at first they were scared. They didn't know what it was. And then OMG, that's Jesus. Here he comes. And I kind of picture him being like, ha, 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 this is cool, right? This is cool. Look at me. You didn't think I was going to do this, right? You thought I was going to sail after you. I kind of think maybe he had a little fun with some of that. And so this is the connection piece. So as he comes close to the boat and they see that it's him, he's like, come on out, guys. Come on out. Do this with me. Let's play at this level together. Doesn't it feel good when you can find people that can play at a really high spiritual consciousness? Come on out, guys. Give it a try. That's connection. Let's do this. Let's play together at a high level. And Peter does. Peter hops out, starts walking on the water, starts taking those steps until he starts realizing, wait a minute, it's windy out here. Wait a minute, what am I doing? And then he starts to sink. And that's where compassion comes in. Because there was that moment where he's like, I'm sinking, Lord, help me. Lord, help me. And so he does. He reaches out his hand, pulls him up. That's compassion. Pulls him up. And he's like, Peter, be of little faith. Why did you doubt? You had this. You had this. That's all right. Hop on the boat. Let's keep going. That's compassion. That's what small groups let us do. That's what those relationships let us do. We come together to play at a high level, but sometimes we're sinking. And sometimes we need a hand. Sometimes we need someone to lift us up and to be able to say, help me. I need your hand right now. Can you help me? And have people that are there for you, always. And can not only help, but also do a little debrief. Thanks for the debrief, Jesus. All right, I've grown a little from this experience. And then they go to the next of the C's, which is to serve. So we have our community, we have our spiritual community, and then we have those that we serve beyond the community. And Jesus showed us that as well. So I have this team that I'm building and developing, and then together this team goes out and serves in a bigger capacity. That's the exhale. Let's take what we've gotten, let's take our personal growth, our meditations, our walks in nature, all the things that we do so that we don't get triggered, all the things that we do so we can remember who we are. Let's take all of that work, that inhale, and give it back to the world in a way that grows and expands. So the final of the 5 C's is challenge. I can breathe in, I can breathe out, but can I breathe in deeper? Can I have a stronger impact? Can I expand my impact? And what they found when they got back to that next distant shore was word is out. And I wonder if the word was out that, hey, Jesus was walking on the water. Did you see that? I think that's pretty amazing. But I suspect that maybe the excitement was for a moment, even for a small moment, Peter did it too. Isn't that exciting? Peter did it too, even if only for a few steps. And so what happened when they go to the next town is it expands and expands and expands. So that's the process of learning and growing in all of these disciplines. To me, they are an expression of love God, communion, love each other. Love each other by having fun together. Love each other by reaching out a hand. Love each other. Love those people that you've never even met. And then when you feel like you really just got love going on everywhere, then love more. Love more. Expand. How big can your heart be? And that's the work that we get to do together. And it's done really well, really beautifully in small groups. I was listening to a podcast as I was flying here by, what's his name? What is his name? I have it written down. Simon Sinek. He's the TED guy who does the Why Talk. He says, you go to a bookstore, you go to the library, and they're always going to have this huge self-help section. But what you don't see is the help others section. Right? We're good at helping ourselves. We know how to meditate. We read the books. We go to the workshops. If we really want to be happy, if we really want to know fulfillment, the answer's not in the self-help book, it's in the help others book. And the more we can do that, the more fulfilled we are, and the more we do it, the more we receive. But the challenge is, it requires us to be in relationship. It requires us to ask. And I was thinking about this in the ministry of Jesus as well. It seems like he just went and served and served and served. I saw a Facebook post yesterday, and it was like, if you feel drained from helping other people, then go into your self-care. Go be by yourself. Go take your walk in nature because you're depleted from serving other people. And I would say there's another option. That communion practice is important, but there's another option. That other option is to be in community with people where you give to them and they give back to you. Right? So there's a flow, but that requires us to ask. And Simon asked, he said, what's more comfortable Helping someone or having someone help you? What's more comfortable? How many of you would say helping someone's more comfortable? Yeah, how many of you say having someone help you is more comfortable? Like, nobody. One, yes, and you've got your joyful dog here who does that so well. So yeah, what's more comfortable? So it is uncomfortable for most of us to ask for help, and that is why it is such a gift. That is why it is such a gift, because it allows others to serve us. So it's one of those weird paradigms. So how do you know if you know something? Because you live it, right? How do you know if you know something? I think there's a Charles Fillmore quote that goes something like that. So how do you know if you know something? So I'm going to play a little game with you. So I invite you to open your imagination, and we'll just have a little fun together if you're up for that. Okay, so I want you to imagine that I hold in my hand a golden ball of yarn. And imagine that I'm going to take the end of this golden ball of yarn, and in a moment, I'm going to throw it up in the air, and something magical is going to happen. I'm going to hold on to the end here, but as I throw it up in the air, it's going to splinter into lots of different little balls of yarn, and one of them is going to land right in your lap. It's going to be really magical. So are you ready for this? Are you ready to catch? All right, here it comes. Here it comes. And I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to throw it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Did you catch it? Did you catch it? Okay, so I've got my side here. So do you feel like where the string is attached to the ball of yarn? Can you feel that space? So if I tug on it, can you feel it? You feel the string tugging a little bit? Oh, I feel you tugging back. I feel that. I feel that. So here's the game. So I invite you to, if you're able, I invite you to stand up. Let's play a little bit. Hold on to your ball of yarn. Hold on to the string. And here's the game. I'd like to see how connected we are. So for those of you who are brand new, this may be like really easy. Like, okay, so if you've been around for a long time, it's going to be a different experience. So imagine you have this ball of yarn. Imagine this yarn is just full of golden love. What I want you to do is look around the room and look for someone that you recognize. Maybe you recognize them from the bookstore. Maybe they opened the door for you. Maybe someone you've been in a class with. Look for someone you recognize. And when I say 1, 2, 3, throw, then you're going to hold on to your string, but you're going to throw that ball of yarn to that person that you recognize. Are you ready? Now, know that if you don't recognize anybody, then you can have a seat. Like if you're like, this is my first time here, I don't know anybody, just feel free to have a seat, all right? So you're like, okay, and then you can just hold on to your thread, hang on to that, we can use it later. But if you recognize somebody, are you ready? Do you know who you're gonna throw it to? All right, 1, 2, 3, throw it. All right, so catch it, somebody just threw you something. All right, good, all right, so now, here's the next level, you ready? Next level, as you hold it. So if you just caught that, if you just threw it and you just caught it, here's the next challenge. So now, you have a little more thread, grab a little more thread. So now, look around the room and look for someone who you know by name. You could call them by name. If you don't know anyone, if you're standing and you don't know anyone that you can call by name, then have a seat. If you see someone you can know by name, then I invite you to identify them. We're going to throw on 3. Are you ready? You throw your ball of yarn to them. 1, 2, 3, throw it. There you go. And catch it. Make sure you catch it, because and then you've got it on the other side. You're doing so good. You're doing really good. Okay, so now move this. You now got a little more thread. You got a little more thread. All right, so if you're still standing, now you have another ball of yarn you just received. So imagine, look around the room and look for someone that you know something personal about them. Not just their name, but you actually know something about their life. If you can't see anyone like that, then have a seat. But if you can, do you see someone you know something personal about their life? And when I say throw, we're going to throw that ball of yarn. Ready? 1, 2, 3, throw it, there we go. All right, catch it. You got this, and then you get a little more thread. Okay, you're doing really good. So here's the next one. You now hold another ball of yarn. If you look around this room, those who are standing, look around this group of those who are standing, if there is someone different who you have personally helped in some way, you've listened, you've opened a door for them, you've served them lunch, If you've served them in some way, identify someone. And if that isn't you, then just have a seat, that's fine. But if you see someone, you're like, oh yeah, we had a conversation, we did something, I did something for you, then we're gonna throw the ball of yarn to them. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, throw it! And catch it, it's coming to you. There it is, catch it, you got it? All right, and so move your string a little bit more. And the final one, so if you're still standing, as you hold that ball of yarn, look around the room, those who are still standing, look for someone that you have allowed to help you. Someone that has been there for you and you have been open to receiving that gift. And we're gonna throw it on 3. 1, 2, 3, throw it! And catch it. Excellent. And have a seat. You did really well with that. Hold on to your yarn though. Hold on to your yarn. We're not done, but have a seat. There's a book out, it's a children's book called The Invisible String. And I gave it to my daughter when she was little because I travel a lot with my work. I'm out speaking on the road and at Unity Village and doing all kinds of different things. And I would call her when I was on the road and I would say, the idea is that we all have an invisible string that connects us to the people that we love. Anytime you love someone, there's an invisible string that we connect from one heart to the other. And that anytime we're feeling lonely or separated, that all we have to do is tug on that string and we'll be able to feel that that person is still there, whether they are on this physical plane or not. So I would call my daughter and I would say, hey, I'm pulling on my string, can you feel it? Our string, I'm pulling on it. And she'd say, yeah. I'm pulling on the string now, do you feel it? I'm like, yeah. We're connected through this invisible string. And anytime you need me, you pull on that string and I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna feel it because we have that kind of connection. So here's the next level of challenge as you look at your golden ball of yarn. I invite you to look around the room, glance around the room, and look for someone that you don't know, but someone that you think, I would be really interested in getting to know that person. Something about them looks interesting to me. Something about them makes me want to have a conversation with them. And I'm going to give you you can look around and turn around like, who would that be? I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to throw. And as we throw, know that someone's going to throw that ball of yarn to you as well. So you're going to throw yours, and then you're going to catch someone else's. So you ready for this? You know who you're going to throw it to? 1, 2, 3. Throw it, and catch it. Excellent. And then hold on to that ball of yarn. You might want to put it in your pocket. Put it somewhere safe. Put it somewhere where you can tug on it anytime you need to. And here's the challenge I have for you. After service today, when you're out in the hallway or grabbing some coffee or whatever it is, to look for that person. Look for that person. And when you see them, to say, I threw my yarn to you. Did you catch it? And then if you're that person, you're like, yes, I caught it. And then you laugh because it's kind of ridiculous, right? But you laugh and have some fun and play and then get to know each other a little bit. That's the challenge. And that's how it happens. One heart at a time, one person at a time, one act of kindness at a time. We can build that sense of connection. So I have a workshop I'm doing this afternoon. Oh, this is cool. This is from the Surgeon General. This is on the Surgeon General's website. What if there is something in our everyday lives that can transform our health and our well-being? What would that be? The simple love, connection, reaching out, having a conversation that matters, caring about another human being. So I have a workshop this afternoon. It's a chance to experience small group energy, experience connection and belonging. I hope you can join us. I'm going to spend some time talking just a little bit, about small groups in terms of what could be coming to the Unity of Dallas, so you can ask questions about that as well. So I'm excited to see you there. What else do I want to share with you? Workshop, and it's been 7 years. What if we say a blessing for the next 7? How about that? So I invite you to take a deep breath in. And here we are, 2023. We take this moment to give thanks for this incredible community, to give thanks for the leadership, to give thanks for the staff, to give thanks for the volunteers, to give thanks for the members of this community and those who pass through for whatever chapter in their life they're in. We are grateful for this facility, for those who care for it, for those who keep it. And we send this blessing out to Unity of Dallas, that the love that is here, that is the heart that is here, continues to grow and to expand and to multiply. And for those people who have not yet wandered into your doors, or for those who have gone, who are thinking, wouldn't it be nice to come back? We send our love to them as well, knowing that this is a place that is inclusive. This is a place where anyone can walk in the door as they are and feel a sense that you belong. Welcome home. So we send this blessing to Unity of Dallas, that your doors are abundantly blessed with love, that people come in bringing their love, receiving love, and then moving out beyond the walls of this church into your communities, bringing love that heals people's hearts, heals neighborhoods, heals situations because of the love that begins here, in that moment of communion, in that moment of connection. We give thanks for the love and the energy and the zeal that thrives in this community, and we see it growing, multiplying to overflowing. For this we give thanks. And so it is, and so it is. 7 years is a powerful thing. You know, it's a Sabbath. 7 represents that which only God can do. You know, for the first 6 days, we do the best we can, and then you let God step in and do that which only God can do. And so I invite you, as we move forward into the next 7 years, that we do so giving all that we have to give, receiving all that is here for you to receive, and knowing that there is a spirit that comes, the mastermind, it is greater than the sum of our parts. And when we do this together, it is amazing what we can create together. So let us affirm together. Repeat after me. Love lifts us up where we belong. Love lifts us up where we belong. And so it is.